So the next thing that we're going to go back to is showing versus telling. Dahl does very little telling in his stories and does a lot of showing. So again, if an author is showing you something, they're doing one of these things here. They're providing sensory details, action, or dialogue. If they're telling you, they're doing one of these things here. They are describing a character's feelings or character traits of a character. So we have these two questions here. In the first paragraph, is he showing or telling? And then for the rest of the story, is he showing or telling? And what you have available here. So let's go back up to the first paragraph. I noticed in the first paragraph he used some, and I paused on these words here because I think these are very important. When you're using adjectives to describe a person, you are telling the reader how to feel. So therefore, in the first paragraph, do you think that he is telling or do you think that he is showing? And then if we went down, we can look at all of this here. This is all dialogue. When it has quotation marks around it, that means that it's dialogue. And I noticed that pretty much the whole thing was dialogue. And I also noticed that dialogue lives on the showing side, and then adjectives live on the telling side. So use that to fill in numbers 3 and 4. So we're going to continue by unpacking his quote or his declaration that David Cook is warm-hearted, brave, and generous. And how does he show us all of these things? How does he prove to us that his friend is all of these things? So the first one you're going to focus on is warm-hearted. I'm going to show you how to find these examples of showing in the text so that you can do number 6 and number 7 by yourself. So we're going to go back up and we're going to go near the top to find where he is warm-hearted. So I'm going to assume that I have read all of this text and that at this point, so have you. And so I am looking specifically for instances that my character is warm-hearted towards the narrator, because he can't just claim something and it not be true. He needs to prove to us that that is the case by showing us details in the text. And specifically here, he's going to do it through dialogue, because almost everything that Dahl talks about in this passage is through dialogue. He lets characters really reveal themselves through what they say. So I do know the relationship between these characters is that Dahl knows very little, and he looks for other people to show him like what he needs to know about fighting and about being at war. So he asks David Cook to help him. And so a lot of this back and forth is about him trying to help our narrator. So we're looking for evidence that he's warm-hearted, that he cares, that he doesn't just say, okay, well, okay, whatever. I'm not going to help you because you're just like some loser rookie who isn't worth my time and I'm too good for you. Instead, he really takes the time to help. So we're looking for that in the text. So David Cook says, as you don't seem to know anything at all, I'd better try to help you. What would you like to know? So he takes the time right here in that part of the text. Sorry, I skipped around. Right here in this part of the text, to, I'm just showing you where I'm at, about halfway through, to really listen and to advise our main character. So again, I'm assuming at this point that you've read, and I was just trying to find a line that represented that our character wants to help the narrator. So wanting to say, I'd better help you, what would you like to know? Right? He's open to helping our character. So I'm going to put that right here. I'm going to copy and paste it and put it right here on number 5. And then your job on number 6 is to find evidence that our character is brave, that David Cook is brave. And then on number 7, find that he is generous. Another word for generous would be that he's giving, that he wants to help, that he's willing to go beyond what is asked of him to help out. And then we are going to look at a new aspect of the story. So we've been focusing a lot on showing and telling and dialogue and descriptions, and now we're going to add in flashback and flash forward into our knowledge of story writing. So a flashback is when an author interrupts a scene to narrate something that happened in the past. And then a flash forward is when an author interrupts a scene to narrate something that will happen in the future. So what we want to look at is, we're going to go back to paragraph number 1, and we want to find out, is our character flashing forward or backward? Is our narrator telling us about something that will happen, that happened in the past, or something that's going to happen in the future? So let's go back up to the top. And I didn't really spend a lot of time on this line earlier because I wanted us to wait, and I didn't want to like reveal to you. You might have already read it, but I didn't want to reveal what was going to happen. But we're going to look here in the middle of paragraph 1, number 1. I learned that much later David Cook came from a very noble family, and today, had he not been killed in his hurricane later on, he would have been none other than Earl of Leicester, owning one of the most enormous and beautifully stately homes in England. So there we have the line that we're looking at. Now, is our narrator, are they flashing backwards? Are they telling something that happened in the past? Or are they saying this would have happened in the future? So this is actually, and this is the first time we're seeing this, so I'm going to reveal to you, this is called a flash forward. So if we meet this later on, I'll expect that you're able to determine which one it is. But we are flashing forward in the text. We're saying, okay, well, I'm going to stop this moment that I'm telling you about us flying planes, and I'm going to skip ahead and say, okay, well, now he would have been a owner of a beautiful estate, but he's not. And then we go back to the past where Dahl is mostly living in. He's telling a story out of the past, and so him jumping to the future is a flash forward. And then you can copy the lines of the text from the first paragraph there. Our final question is, why do you think he jumps in time? Why does knowing this information change the way you read the dialogue between the two characters? So because he tells us that he's going to die, why do you think he tells us that? What is he preparing us for? And then also, did that color or did that change the way that you read the rest of the story, knowing that